This is part of a much larger effort, though, which you'll see, to make any kind of what people kind of call anti-immigrant or Islamophobic sentiment akin to blasphemy, right? Akin to blasphemy. And any kind of pro-GB, pro-UK sentiment is to be scorned and punished at every single turn. We mentioned a little while ago the one girl who, because she wore a Union Jack dress to school, was put through this struggle session, because she gets to celebrate her culture every day and all of these things. Even now, we're increasingly being shown that you actually fucking don't. And she got sent home. She got sent home, as did some other kids who were wearing like a Welsh flag on their shirts and stuff like that. There was a woman, this is an adult woman in a supposedly free country, the UK, mind you, in, where was it to? Sutton in Ashfield in Nottinghamshire. A 54-year-old woman who wore a Union Jack dress to Wetherspoons was turned away in the wake of anti-migrant protests that had occurred in the area. So no evidence that she had anything to do with this. She's just going out wearing a Union Jack dress, and she was turned away from Wetherspoons to, you guessed it, not to increase tensions. Not to increase tensions. If you cannot go out wearing a dress or any item of clothing with the emblem, the flag of your country on it, within your own country, because of the worries of increasing tensions within the community, maybe there's elements of that community that shouldn't be here. Maybe there's elements of that community that shouldn't be here. And you have to wonder, why would it inflame community tensions? And why are we tolerating that? So a woman wearing a Union Jack dress was turned away from a Wetherspoons so as, quote, not to increase tensions, unquote, after an anti-migrant protest in the area. Tanya Ostolsky, I believe that's how you say it, Tanya Ostolsky, 54, from Sutton in Ashfield, Nottinghamshire, says she was knocked back from the Picture House last night despite being a regular in the pub. Dozens of protesters had gathered in the town centre from 4:30 p.m. after Reform MP Lee Anderson went against police advice to make an unverified claim that a local man charged with rape was an asylum seeker, a quote-unquote asylum seeker, obviously. We have enough of a pattern now where you can make that claim, and odds are, at least there's a good chance, that it will be true. There's a good chance that it will be true. So we had the protest in Norwich on the weekend outside the Brook Hotel, because there was a man there that was accused of forcing a 15-year-old girl to, satisfy him with her hand, should we say. Truly, truly disgusting stuff. Obviously, that was the reason why James Harvey was arrested. It didn't stop the protest. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to pour petrol on the fire. Every time this stuff happens, it's going to pour more petrol on the fire. And it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. So the police are losing control, and you have to wonder why. We'll get into more of the police in a moment. It followed similar anti-migrant demonstrations outside the Bell Hotel in Epping near Essex and the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf in central London, which they actually tried to lie about. They actually tried to lie and say that it wasn't housing migrants, and then because the truth always finds a way, they then, I think it was only a couple hours later, had to admit it. So again, showing that these supposed far-right Nazis that are just parents concerned about the welfare of their children and their communities are right all along, and they're just being falsely labelled at every single turn. They know people will still fall for it. And we're quite lucky. If you live in an area like mine, we're quite lucky at the moment that we don't have any of these in our local communities. I guarantee you, a lot of you who would accuse me, for example, of being racist and intolerant and all of these things, would change your tune very, very quickly if this was in your communities. I can guarantee you that. We are very, very lucky, and we should always remember that. Last night's protest in Sutton in Ashfield ended around 7 p.m. when protesters made their way back to where the gathering began, about 50 metres from the pub. Many of those who took to the streets were waving Union flags or wrapped in St. George's Cross flags, and had sought to get into the pub after the demonstrations were over. Clashes with bouncers outside the pub quickly ensued when they were denied access due to a no-flag policy. I do wonder if they would have done it if it was like a Palestine flag or something like that, because we did just have a woman recently. I'll see if I can find it a moment. I believe it's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Here it is. A woman was allegedly, she was with a baby, was her baby, presumably, obviously, was arrested for, believed, it doesn't say it on the video, but for anti-Palestine views by the police. We'll get into that in the next story, ladies and gentlemen. pardon me. Ms. Ostolsky says she was holding a St. George Cross flag when she was refused entry by the bouncers on the door before putting it in her bag, hoping that it would allow her access. So if I just pull this up for you, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ms. Ostolsky, because this was published in, sorry, what's the paper that I'm reading this from? It's full online. It's just Mail Online, Daily Mail. This is from a Daily Mail Online, I believe it is. Yes, Daily Mail Online. So you can, again, find the link down below. This is the dress in question. So this is what she was wearing. There shouldn't be anything wrong with this, to go and wear this to Wetherspoon. Shouldn't be anything wrong with it. You can argue that it might be a little bit pretentious, or, you know, a little bit, you know, if you want to argue it's an ugly dress because of the color scheme and everything, you can make all those things. But should she be allowed in wearing it? Yeah, absolutely. The only reason she shouldn't be allowed in is if she's been removed from the premises for whatever reason, to do with like disorderly conduct, threatening people, too drunk, on drugs, whatever it might be. All of these other legitimate reasons to remove people from the establishment can still apply, but not because of dress choice, when there's nothing here that's, it's not like she's wearing a skin suit or body paint where you'd have a public indecency concern, right? It's nothing like that at all. It's just because it's a national emblem and they want to stamp this out at every single turn. They don't want any kind of nationalist pro-UK sentiment or pro-GB sentiment or pro-individual aspects of Great Britain. So pro-Welsh, pro-Scottish, pro-English, pro-Northern Irish and pro-Irish. You know, obviously Ireland not part of GB and stuff like that. But again, all part of the same thing, trying to clamp down on any kind of nationalist pro-native sentiment. The 54-year-old said she was absolutely disgusted when she was told by on the door she wasn't allowed in because of her dress. She said, I go there all the time and they refused entry. They didn't let me in with my flag. The flag is the English flag, so why shouldn't I be allowed to have an English flag? It's our flag. It's our nation's flag. I wasn't being aggressive or anything. I didn't get leery or anything. Put the flag in my bag and they said I can't come in because of my dress. They kept refusing me. I'm probably going to get barred now. They just said, Tanya, you're not coming in. I feel absolutely disgusted. Why should I be refused entry for wearing a dress or flag? Absolutely. Absolutely. Spokesman for Wetherspoons, Eddie Gershon, said the decision was made to ensure calm in the area and is a, quote, matter of common sense. People are not going to forget this, though. People are not going to forget this. They're not going to forget how they were treated when they were being persecuted in this way, and they just wanted to show a little bit of pride in where they're from, in the face of government trying to stamp that out at every single turn. They're not going to forget who you sided with, Mr. Gershon. We're not going to forget that in the future. We'll never forget it, or at least won't forget it for a very, very long time. So you have to weigh up what the best course of action is going to be here. Pub managers have a duty under the licensing laws, and as a matter of common sense, to judge every situation on its particular circumstances. In this case, the pub manager felt it was important not to increase tensions. Therefore, on this occasion, the manager asked customers not to enter with flags or any placards. And again, they mentioned here, this Mrs. Stolsky's knockback comes just days after a schoolgirl was put in isolation for wearing a similar Union Jack dress to celebrate being British at her school's Culture Day. So this is, and you know, then they say that Keir Starmer, we have a long history of free speech and freedom of expression. Being British is something to be celebrated. Quite clearly not. Quite clearly not. They try to denigrate it at every single turn, because they need to denigrate people's sense of national identity and who they are, and symbols that they rally around, symbols that give them their meaning. It's why they want to rally so hard against Christianity and things like that as well, because they're threats to the establishment, they're threats to totalitarian rule. But then you have this, for example, ladies and gentlemen. So the police then coming in, I'm not sure where exactly this is from. I believe this is Leicestershire, if I'm not mistaken. There's a mother with her baby was arrested for expressing anti-Palestine views. Then when the police tried to take her away from the camera, because there was a person with her that was recording, that she said, no, I want him recording this here. He's my advocate. And he's recording the situation, because he says then, oh, we just want to get some personal details and stuff like that. Because she says then, no, I'm going to move on. They forcibly arrest her. She's with her baby, mind you. So here is that video for you now, ladies and gentlemen. And then we're going to show you another video which perfectly encapsulates the state of the UK with regards to its policing, and why, because of things like this, because of issues like this, where we're showing blatant two-tier politicized policing. You've seen it all throughout the grooming gangs excerpts. You've seen it all throughout every single incident where it involves anything that goes against the political orthodoxy and the religious orthodoxy of the secularists today. Why people whom before would have been happy to bring themselves into the front line to help the police in certain instances now no longer do a thing. Because they've seen that not only the police have betrayed them in aspects of this, they see that they're not worth protecting anymore. They're not going to protect you, so why should you protect them when they get into trouble? But here's that video of the lady getting arrested here, ladies and gentlemen.
With you.
A conversation or an interrogation, darling?
Conversation initially. Yeah. Obviously, I'd want to do just out of the way, just away from these.
No,
can I film you? Yeah.
No, I want you to be with me.
Yeah, so
this is my advocate.
I'll film all of the conversations with you guys. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I've not done anything illegal. Okay. So.
The reason I asked that is because I'm going to be asking for some personal details.
No, I'm going to leave.
You don't have to give no personal details.
Okay.
Are you going to arrest me?
Yes, you're under arrest.
If you're
No, you can't arrest her.
Give my details.
No.
You can't arrest her for what?
No.
She hasn't done anything. I've got it all on camera. I've got it all on camera. Fucking jokers.
I think she's got a baby with her as well.
You've got a baby with her as well.
So there we are. So this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with in UK now. So as I say, she hasn't done a crime, but then again, you don't need to commit a crime in the UK anymore.
Don't worry.
You don't need to commit a crime in the UK anymore. Because as we've seen, was it causing offence? There was that infamous banner that happened the other day. Causing offence is an offence in itself. Now, I'm very offended by this. Are the police going to arrest themselves for causing the offence of offence? No, of course they're not. But I don't know what the actual situation was preceding this, because the video doesn't say, but they do forcibly arrest her. I'm assuming the gentleman that is recording this, I'm assuming it's a friend or whoever it is, takes care of the child. I would hope so. But this is the thing. Police, and I'm seeing more and more people coming to me, for example, potentially with interviews in the future, who've had incidents with police, with tragedies that have happened in their lives and stuff like that. Police are so non-empathetic. They're so like robots. They're like drones. They're like drones with a political programming, and there's no empathy. There's no care for the child's welfare or anything like that. When the woman here has committed no crime, obviously speaking out against the regime in any way is now deemed as a crime, and that is what happens in banana republics and the people's republics of North Korea and stuff like that. But then you have, for example, incidents, ladies and gentlemen, where what happens when the police get into trouble? What happens when the police get into trouble? We saw that video a couple of episodes ago, which was absolutely hilarious in some ways. Wouldn't be so hilarious if anybody had actually gotten hurt, but I don't think anybody did. Where, because a police officer couldn't handle himself in a physical confrontation, he was screaming with terror for people around him, bystanders, to help him deal with a single assailant that wasn't necessarily massively bigger than himself or anything like that. I think he was smaller than himself, but because he didn't have a clue what the hell he was doing, he needed the help of like 3 or 4, possibly more bystanders, and it looked like the one was coming in to actually attack the police officer more. It's exactly what you're saying. And the police have shown that they've put all their eggs in the basket, usually of people that are of foreign descent, that actually don't care about us, don't care about our customs, coming here to take over all of these things. And the police want to give our countries over to them. They've shown that time and time and time again with how many girls they sacrificed on the altar of multiculturalism, to the rape gangs, all of these things, right? But then you got to wonder, who are they going to call on when they get into trouble? And then you see quite clearly that the British people now are not going to answer that call. They're not going to help them. They're not going to help them when they get into these kinds of situations where they are then in danger. You know, they could get done in the line of duty, so to speak. And this video here perfectly encapsulated it. And the person that put the caption on this video sums it up quite well as well. The UK, so YOOKAY, UK, encapsulated perfectly in one video. The British police kept arresting those of us who spoke up, and now no one is willing to side with the officers anymore. And you see this now, where they get into a situation where they're like this, and they often get mobbed, then usually by foreigners, who then act in the interests of foreigners. They act on a sectarian basis, which in many ways is just human nature. In many ways is just human nature. And the police let them get themselves into a really bad position. But the people then who would have spoke up for them before, the people then who would have rushed to their aid before, won't do it anymore because they see that you didn't do that for them. And in many instances, you actively persecuted them. You sacrificed their daughters to multiculturalism and stuff like that, for example. But here's the video in question coming to you now, ladies and gentlemen, of this officer failing to deal with this suspect. And then you see the reaction of the people around him. And this is indicative of the problem of a 21st century culture as well. This is a really bad position. This is a really bad position to be in, by the way. Say for somebody that trained jiu-jitsu for quite a while. It's at a long break now, but this, if I just rewind it a little bit. So the guy hits a pretty good fucking takedown, has to be said to him, steps behind the leg, boom. Does it purely accidentally. But that's a really bad position to be in. If the guy knew what he's doing, he could very easily take the officer's back and choke him out here and kill him. There's nothing the officer could do. This is a really bad position for the officer to be in. Really, really bad position. But what do people surrounding him do? What do people that seem to be of foreign descent surrounding him do? They start recording it. Nobody steps in to help him. Nobody steps in to help him. In one instance, because they don't see it as in their interest to do so. They see more potentially on the basis of ethnicity or skin color, whatever it is, and with all the narratives that we've been told about racism and all of these things. A guy's turned up with a baseball bat now, right? Luckily, the officer manages to reverse the position by ear, but it's still not good. And now he's getting pummeled for it. This is encapsulated. This is the UK today. Now, go back before we knew any of this about how politicized the police were. You might have had people dancing around and recording it, right? Bear in mind, the officer's potentially fighting for his life here. He doesn't know if the guy has a weapon or anything like that. Nobody's stepping in to help him. And why should we? These people were never going to do it anyway. They've been fed bullshit narratives about other police are racist and all stuff like that. The police are, in fact, systemically racist, but not against these people. I believe I've just got slightly out of focus. There we are. Police systemically racist against their own people and systemically oppressive against their own people. Not against these people, but that's a narrative these people have been fed. But here you go. The people whom they bent over backwards to appease in many instances turn on them the minute things like this happen. And then they look around and they wonder, where are the people that would have stepped in to help me before? Where are my fellow countrymen? Be like, no, you betrayed us. You committed an act of treason. Why should we help you? You disgusting traitor. Yeah, more and more police coming out now, ex-police officers saying, guys, when you put that badge on, you have to think about what the hell that you are doing. Is this a thing that's worth staying in? Because, yeah, you know, you're just being weaponized against your own people.